Similar to Ever in the film, you made your journey to Taiwan in your 20s. How did that trip ultimately change your own life? And how much did that connection play a role in why you wanted to direct this film?
I mean, it changed my life completely. I've been there um now almost 15 years. And I was in my early 20s and I hadn't made a single movie. Now I've made four movies, all in Taiwan so far.
Yeah.
And my wife is from Taiwan. I had my first kid in Taiwan. So it's basically my life, since my early 20s has been irrevocably changed by living there. So it's a huge, huge yeah, it's like probably one of the big milestones in my life. So that Taiwan has given me almost everything. So it's had a huge impact on me. And of course, like, you know, although the story is very different, definitely identified with that. Just the idea of, an American. I also grew up in like the suburbs in the US, coming to like a completely foreign land, that at the same time is where her parents are from, and trying to find like some kind of cultural connection or, deeper emotional connection to this like foreign place. I think that meant a lot to me when I read the script. Obviously this is like a very fun, little lighter tone of a take on
Yeah.
that journey, but I still feel like that journey itself is something I still identify with, 20 years later.
Answer. And like you're just saying, you've made films in Taiwan before, but never one for a Western audience. How different was this experience compared to your previous projects? And what kind of the nuances that you wanted to make sure were highlighted in this film?
Yeah, it was pretty different, like in addition to the fact that this was made for a predominantly Western audience. I also didn't have a hand in writing it. Usually I write my own movies,
Mm,
and this one was not only an adaptation of a novel, but the screenplay I didn't work on either. So it was really interesting just to try to take a look at it, from a little bit more objective point of view, and see like, how can I kind of capture the fun, like how can I capture like the again, like kind of like the fantasy element of it too, which is like, this is definitely like a more heightened version of that journey, of my journey especially. So yeah, I was just like look at it and just try to find the fun in it and the charm in it and the romance in it. And knowing that I was going to shoot Taipei in a way that would be a heightened version of Taipei, and yet still
mhm.
trying to keep it like not totally too touristy or postcardy. So still try to, find like spots of the city, like, little alleyways, sky bridges, um, certain like, old temples and stuff like that, that still had like a grounding in, the real Taipei. But then of course, treating it with our cinematography and art direction, it becomes like a little bit more than just, the everyday Taipei.
It was quite the journey for you to find your ever. What was it about Ashley's audition that stood out to you?
Well, she definitely has like, kind of the innate charm that the character, I think that's for any character really, but I think also just she could play both sides of that, whatever is, which is, the kind of small town insecure girl, unsure of
Mhm.
herself, but she could also play the version where she starts to gain some confidence in herself and, kind of takes a little bit more of like life into her own hands. So as I try to find that kind of an actress that had both of those qualities, because Ever does kind of go a little bit of a transformation throughout the movie.
Yeah, and you touched upon this already, but because you live in Taipei, you knew the local spots in which you wanted to shoot at. How challenging was it to find that balance between highlighting these really specific and niche locations while creating a broader appeal for the Western audience?
Yeah, I mean, it was really just kind of like drawing on what's real, and then like I was saying, heightening a little bit. Like for instance, we have a night market scene.
Yeah.
Real night markets, one, very difficult to shoot in because they're just so chaotic. Second, we did shoot during the height of COVID, so like night markets were basically empty. So we had to build our own night market, but the night market
Mm,
we built basically was, is completely based on what night markets really do look like. And we brought in real vendors and real stalls. Some of the lighting is a little bit more beautiful than a real night market might look like. But I think that was kind of the balance. It's like, we knew what I for sure knew what a real night market should feel like. But then kind of just I kind of push that a little bit more so it has like a little bit more pop, like a little bit more of a sheen than your traditional night market.
yeah, it definitely pops on screen. A lot of your cast was visiting Taipei for the first time. What were the key staples that you wanted to share with them as they discovered this city, and how did that ultimately translate into the journey that we see on screen with each of these characters and the chemistry that they each have?
Well, I think they had they're really young. Taiwan had its borders closed, which means like it was almost zero COVID cases at
Yeah.
the time. So they had a great time. I think I didn't have to guide them a lot. Like they found they found plenty of places to like hang out and have fun and to eat and experience. So I was more kind of on the sidelines just watching them experience Taipei. And it was really cool just seeing, they were as they were shooting this movie about these kids kind of, falling in love with the city. You would like I literally saw them falling in love with the city. So
Mm.
and they'll say like it was kind of a dream for them. I think like just, suddenly they're quarantined 14 days, then get out and they're in this like, you know, crazy, insane place for like 2 months, and then suddenly they're back on a plane, into back into the real world. So I feel like we did hopefully capture a little bit of that like personal experience that they did have, especially with Ever.
Yeah, with the film out now in Paramount Plus, what do you hope audiences take away? And is there a scene in particular that you're really excited for audiences to see?
Yeah, you know, I think because I'm sure that for this type of movie, the audience skews a little bit younger. I
Yeah,
really do hope that they see it as like, you know, of course, this is like the heightened version of the journey, but I do hope that they can kind of go on their own journeys, especially if they are, you know, children of immigrants, recent immigrants, that they can maybe do something similar, you know, go back to their original, the countries where their parents are from, and try to experience that. Because I think for me, it was like a pretty life-changing thing. You know, it's obviously a pretty big thing in Ever's journey, and I think if they can get a little bit out of that journey, that would be great. Or like to get inspired to try to travel, you know, and see more of the world,
yeah.
especially like where their parents are from. The scene that I really love is we shot them, Xavier and Ever dancing on like the sky bridge, which is like right in the, like literally the middle of the city. Kind of a difficult scene to shoot, but that to me captures kind of like the feeling that I wanted for this movie overall, which is, you know, just kids falling in love in the middle of Taipei. So I think that's the scene that I really get drawn towards.
Yeah, and we know the film just came out, but this is also the first novel in a three-part series. Have there been any early conversations about a potential sequel?
There haven't been, you know, I'm sure the producer would love to do something more because there are books, you know, there's already
Yeah,
books 2 and 3. You know, I think there's a lot to tell. So like, I think, you know, if it, hopefully this movie resonates well, that there's a chance to do it, like that'd be great.
I definitely. Well, I got one final question for you. Outside of this project, what's next for you?
Well, recently I finished shooting a couple episodes of a TV show called Pachinko. So I did a couple episodes of
Oh,
season 2 of
cool.
that show, which is not out yet, but hopefully will be out sometime early next year.